for Hani 21 Adnan. My membership number is 261812. Okay, today our group want to present about the relationship between multinational cooperation investment and economic activity in developing countries with respect to comparative advantage and pattern of consumption. Okay, so for my part, I will present about introduction. Okay, the word multinational is a combined word of multi and national, which when combined refer to numerous countries. A multinational corporation is a corporation that has its facilities and other valuable assets in at least one country, which is other than its parent country. Some MNC have a budget which is greater than some small-sized countries' GDP, where 36,000 multinational corporations with more than 700,000 branches spread throughout the world as of 2006. Okay. Some of the major examples of MNCs today are Nokia, McDonald's, Microsoft, ExxonMobil, and BP. A multinational corporation, MNC, can have a positive economic impact on the country where the business is located. Okay. According Franklin Root, he said economics are not in agreement as to how multinational or transnational cooperation should be defined. Multinational cooperation have many dimensions and can be viewed from several perspectives, such as ownership, management, strategy, and structure. Besides that, according to Howard Plumter's 1969, he said multinational companies may pursue policies that are home country oriented or host country oriented or world oriented. Plumter used such terms as ethnocentric, polycentric, and geocentric. However, ethnocentric is misleading because it focuses on race or ethnic, especially when the home country itself is populated by many different races, whereas polycentric lost its meaning when the MNC operate only in one or two foreign countries.
Now I will explain for the role of MNC in developing countries. There are 5 roles of MNCs that I will explain here, which is promote foreign investment, transfer of technology, promote export of the host countries, investment in infrastructure, and specializations of productions. Promote foreign investment. MNC play an important role of FDI as it involved in the movement of private foreign capital and operate in various of business activities in different countries. For example, the income of workers in Maruti Udyog Limited in India is increased because of the investment from Japanese multinational Suzuki firm. So many employees are employed by them, as India acts as the suppliers of intermediate goods to Maruti Udyog. Transfer of technology. MNC manage the activities of production and transportation in the firm, and it is important to the working class because high technology enables them to increase the productivity and start new productive ventures. Promoting exports of the host country. MNC produce the products efficiently with lower costs and have the extensive link all over the world. For example, Suzuki invested heavily in Maruti Udyog in a joint venture with the Indian government. Another example is Pepsi applied for a product license in India to make Pepsi Cola, and they committed to export a percentage of its goods. Investment in infrastructure. MNC reform the airports, ports, and telecommunications, as they can fund the financial resources globally. And increasing the growth of industrial and income, it will create more job opportunities. and it will affect the country's economy if there is investment in infrastructure. For example, MNC for SAR already contribute significantly to infrastructure development in emerging nations. For example, in developing countries such as Africa, they dominate voice investment in telecommunications. Specialization in productions. MNC usually spend significantly less on production costs. They're building the manufacturing plants and help firms split production into different countries. For example, the cost of labor in manufacturing productions in Apple design electronic company in US is high compared to China. So for the designing they make in China. Another example is BMW. They manufacture engines in Germany countries and import tires from Asia, and they construct the car in other countries of the factory. The patterns of
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Tyra Abidin, metric number 267794. Okay, I will continue the topic which is the impact of MNC in developing countries. I will present my part which is the positive impact of MNC in developing countries. Okay, there are three impacts that I have found, which is number one is can promote the organizational transformation needed to alleviate poverty. Multinational companies push employees to manufacture a certain product, and this item enhance the life of the employees. For example, life in Brazil has improved considerably, so now children are able to go to school, health centers have improved, and local politics are more involved. MNC have an essential important in poverty reduction in a nation where they dominate. Okay, although locally and globally employing hundreds of thousands of people in underdeveloped countries is a significant source, the influence extends beyond that. Due to the financial capacities and management skills to execute the development initiative that they process, sustainable development by MNC could be a cause of good change, including poverty reduction. Okay, next impact is the gender discrimination continue to be an ongoing global problem. Okay. Gender-oriented discrimination is more severe. It is particularly necessary to advance toward gender equality and women enabling for developing nations whose culture and legal tradition typically reflect patriarchal idea. For example, in the formal sector, substantially fewer women than males are working, and 77% of men's salary are paid on average. This figure, however, emphasizes that the gender wage gap is a genuine because of the prevalence of informal self-employees. Okay, in sub-Saharan Africa, around 20% of female in wages and or salary employment are in employment compared with around 35% of male, and 127 women live in extreme poverty. Every 100% men aged 25 until 34 years. Okay, next impact is on tourism and world trade or global industry. Okay, and this in era globalization now, millions have been infected and hundred healthcare systems are overworked and approach critical capacity even in some of the world's richest nations. Migrant workers are especially vulnerable demographical, and employment losses in sender-dependent nations are expected to cause severe impacts. Okay, MNC have never had more vital influence on and contribution to development. MNC have a significant role in combating this epidemic, as with poverty and gender, especially in developing nations, where the impact are seen the most. That's all for me. I will pass to the next presenter to present the negative impact of MNC in developing countries. Thank you.
A very good day to everyone. My name is Sevvan matrix number 269845. So today I would like to explain on the negative impact of multinational corporation MNC in developing countries. Here I found out 4 major negative impacts of MNC in developing countries. The first negative impact is environmental pollution. Critics claim that MNC have caused severe environmental damage in developing nations, in part owing to their sheer scale because MNC have been in action over such a long period and in so many countries. There are certain to be examples where these accusations are correct. Mining activity has caused serious environmental degradation and contamination in all regions of the globe, including the emission of hazardous compounds into the river systems, huge volume waste disposal, improper disposal of hazardous waste, and the long-term effect of poorly planned mine closure. Multinational oil firm has been the subject of protests and condemnations for extensive pollutions and human rights breaches in developing nations such as in Nigeria, Indonesia, and increasing the Caspian area. There are 2 reasons why multinational corporations turn their activity towards the developing countries. The first is polluting industries turn to their countries where environmental legal regulations aren't rigid. And the second, the public opinion in developing countries is unaware of the harm that such economic activity causes to the environment. The next impact is prevent autonomous development. MNCs, according to dependency theories, inhibit poorer nations from developing from reaching actual self-sufficiency. For example, MNC prohibit local enterprises and entrepreneurs from participating in the economy's most active areas of the economy. Instead, they're bringing in the fresh cash from the outside. They utilize local capital. Furthermore, they exhibit income disparities in the host nation and utilize inefficient capital-intensive technology. They lead to unemployment. Let us move to the next negative impact, which is exploit worker. Companies such as Reebok, Nike, and Levi Strauss have taken advantage of Indonesian labor. Workers live in displaced, leaky, mosquito-infected apartments and live barely $39 a month for creating thousands of things costing over $100 a piece. Indonesia's economy is thriving as a result of enormous direct foreign investment, but the country's cheap labor is suffering from horrible living conditions and unlawful salaries. MNC have given a negative impact to the employees, give incentive to degraded working conditions, offer lower wages than alternative jobs, or opposes workers' rights. MNCs contribute little to employment and they discourage local entrepreneurs by effectively competing with them in local capital market through execution of existing enterprises, the use of separate management instead of educating local residents, and the hiring of local skilled personnel. This is increasing clear evidence of MNCs are outsourcing of low-wage countries. Lower salaries and fewer employment of lower-skilled home country employees performing routine activity result from higher income nations. The last negative impact is health and safety risk. Another form of secondary consequences that developing nations face is the growth of poor counterfeit medication, which endangers their health and safety. According to the recent media reports, 10% of the world pharmaceuticals are counterfeit. Counterfeit newborn infant formula, cough syrup, and other medication have resulted in serious sickness or death. Consumers in nations such as in the United States and European countries are too sophisticated and distribution networks are too professional to allow low-quality drugs to enter the distribution system and reach consumers. For example, when the Rana Plaza building in Bangladesh fell in 2013, over 1,000 people were killed. Workers in one facility made clothing for a variety of well-known brands. Similarly, SOMO 2013 discovered that workers were obligated to stand for their job through the full shift in the field research on international enterprises in the Malaysian electronics sector. Furthermore, the employees reported that exposed to harmful gases and chemicals throughout the lead building process. Protective equipment including masks is not provided by the employers. Many workers reported having allergic responses and frequently developing cough. So that's all from me. Thank you.
The patterns of consumption change in economic development. Firstly is food consumption. The food preference of people might be changed nowadays. The appeal of products that achieve global domination is universal. For example, the company of fast food such as McDonald's, Burger King, and KFC, soft drinks like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. MNC will ensure minimum standard of the products. For example, Starbucks coffee store will provide you with what you are acquainted with when you travel to other nations. A new Asia R&D center also built in Shanghai, China by Junto CFO for PepsiCo. The second change of consumption is electricity consumption. Working from home during COVID-19 can consider as one of the reasons of why the electricity consumption increased. Malaysia government can implementations like what Google and IKEA did. For example, they make the investment in wind farm to generate enough energy to households and shops. The third consumption change is clothing consumption. The customer in apparel will continue to climb as their income increase, despite the fact that various consumers live in different locations and have varying income levels. For example, Marks and Spencer implement a China Plus 5 strategy. The aim of the strategy is to provide more choice and innovative products to consumers from European.
Okay, next is a challenge of multinational companies in developing countries. Okay, first is organizational structure. Organizational structure is a tool that is modified in order to improve the capabilities and achievement of the organization. Therefore, the organizational structure will be seen based on the context by the multinational company. A multinational company is a company from abroad and expand its business to developing countries in effort to intervene in such business. However, it should be noted that the real goal of multinational companies is to make a profit through intervention in the business. Despite this, various constraints faced by multinational companies in expanding their influence in a country. One of the constraints or challenge faced by multinational companies is the organizational structure. As is known, this is multinational company which is based in developed countries such as the United States and the European Union. This situation will lead to lack of control over company which can lead malpractice, fraud and uncertainty. This is due to lack of control. This lack of control is also due to the factor of time difference and distance between branches. There are four structural divisions in the organizational structure. First is functional structure, product structure, and regional structure, and metric structure. Next is politics. For multinational companies that have companies in various countries will face various challenges in developing business in developing countries. One of the challenges that the owners of these multinational companies have to go through is the challenge from the political aspect. Challenge from a political aspect refers to the risk that a host country will make its own political decision in the country. This situation will have a detrimental effect on multinational companies. This is because multinational companies do not have the power to make decisions in the political aspect. Political action can range from very detrimental conditions such as severe disruption as a result of revolution. For those of a more financial nature, such as the formation of law restricting the movement of capital. In general, there are two types of challenge from the political aspect, namely macro and micro. Macro challenge refer to adverse action that will affect all foreign firms, such as expropriation or insurrection, while micro risks refer to action that can affect the industrial or business sector, such as corruption, where corruption can also affect overseas business. For example, the instability of the political situation in the Middle East, in some Asian countries, and on the African continent has often affected business development because not many investors are interested in investing in those countries. In addition, political instability caused by ongoing riots, change and demonstrations such as demonstration in Thailand and Turkey has hampered business development in those countries. Based on the challenge faced by multinational companies will cause their companies to suffer huge loss. So how have multinational companies been able to minimize political risk? There are several steps that can be taken before an investment is made. The simple solution is through a market research study in a country, either by paying for report from experts who has specialized in making assessment or doing your own research using resources available on the internet. So the multinational company has a right charge of not setting up operation in countries that are considered to be hotspot of political risk. Okay, next is the law. All multinational companies face complex legal and ethical issues when doing business in developing countries. Weak law could affect foreign investors to invest in developing countries. For example, the weakness of the law in corruption. Corruption is a threat to foreign investment for a number of reasons. First, such corruption will disrupt the economic and financial environment. Second, corruption will also reduce the efficiency of government and business by allow bureaucrats to hold positions that are not based on qualification and abilities. Third, corruption can also directly cause instability in the political process. This serve corruption has to the potential to be a greater risk to foreign business, causing feeling of dissatisfaction, unrealism, and inefficiency to control the domestic economy and encouraging the development of the black market. The greater risk is when such corruption become outrageous and a major scandal is suddenly exposed to trigger a popular backlash, result in the fall or overthrow of a government structure, the country's political institution, or at worst will cause a split in the law and order and make the country uncontrollable. Multinational companies can also expect to face human rights, social equality, environmental issues, which often undermine their ability to compete fairly in global markets.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Insyirah binti Azhari, matrix number 263515. So I would like to continue about challenges faced by MNC, which is in tax competition. The tax competition is not something weird or new. It is a thing that people want to avoid from it. The highest the tax is, the expensive that thing becomes. As increasing in the price, the demand of that will decrease. To avoid from the demand become lower, the MNC will have to find a ways to create convenience in it. In competition, countries have to offer incentive for MNC, such as reduction of taxes, pledges of government assistance, or improvement in infrastructure. When this incentive not work or unsuccessful, they will have to face challenges like the limit in foreign investors' attraction. Nevertheless, some say that the MNC are involved in a top competition race. Even the MNC assume that the lowest of tax burden or the cheapest of labor cost of strength competition, there were no proof to show that MNC deliberately avail themselves to environment tax regulation or the worst level of labor. And the last is market imperfection. Actually, it is the worst thing to company who do not know the laws, regulation, or procedure of one country, but they still want to export their product to them. In the ways to export their product to be known and sold in foreign country, it will create a problem where they cannot manage it properly and the operation of the companies not will go smoothly. The extra cost of entering in foreign market are less interest to the local business. The company can get separate from compete with the transportation costs, tariff and non-tariff barriers that going to force them in competing while reducing their profit. The companies can maximize their income by combining or cooperate with local companies that lead to decreased competition or share market. All these things will happen if there are a few substitute or limited license in a foreign market. Thank you.
Okay, I will continue my part, that is conclusion. Okay, several advantages are available to developed country when multinational corporations operate in their home countries. The institution looser norms of ethical conduct, on the other hand, may be used by developing countries to exploit their plight rather than the vital support required for the country overall economy and social growth. It is true, MNC plays an important role in the developing countries, such as MNC promote foreign investment. MNC contribute to the country rapid development by transferring technologies. MNC also assists promote host country exports. MNC involve investment in infrastructure. MNC also helps in specialization in infrastructure. Besides that, MNC also have positive and negative impact in developing country. Developing country must expand their cosmetic industry in order to compete globally in a market dominated by multinational cooperation. This cannot be accomplished if local industry are treated as infant industry and given a subsidy to play it safe. Rather, they should be driven to compete with the best of them, thereby increase their efficiency. Okay, that's all from me, and that's all from our crew. Thank you.